Welcome everybody to something a little new for our video shoots. Today I have my friends Ryan and Justin, and today we're going to be talking about Warhammer 40K 9th edition. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing
Pretty good, Phil. Thank you for having me on the show.
No problem. So, as I just said, we're talking 9th edition. It just came out within the past 2-ish months.
I'd say
2 months,
2 to 3 months. Yeah.
2 to 3 months. I will admit I'm still relatively new to 40K as a whole, so I'm really interested to know like what's changed from 8th edition to 9th edition.
Yeah, so
And-
there's a lot of things. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I can start with that, Justin. So, again, guys, my name is Ryan. I play different armies in Warhammer 40,000, including Space Marines and Sisters of Battle and all these other armies. But I want to go over the different rule changes in the new edition here at 9th. The start, I tell people it's a more clarified version of what 8th edition was. 8th edition was a huge step in the right direction in making the game easier to understand, from having a book that was from over 400 pages down to really just 16 to 17 when you include diagrams and examples.
Yeah.
But even then, though, it still wasn't perfect. And what GW did was a Games Workshop. They took 8th edition, and I tell people, they went through spell check pretty much, and they made it clearer and easier to understand. They gave better examples, and they really fixed things that seemed to be too overpowered, which we'll be going over in this segment. And they made it easier and more fun to understand.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. One of the big problems with 8th edition was there was a lot of ambiguity in some of the rules. The Necrons, which are one of the big focuses of 9th edition, they had a lot of really vague rules in how some of their units worked and how some of their abilities worked, and they did a lot to clarify that. We've seen some of the spoilers and teasers for the new codex, which should be coming out later this week, but a lot of that seems to have been cleaned up and given a lot more definition of, okay, it can only do this many things, and you have to do it like this, and you can't just kind of do whatever you want with the rules.
I completely agree, Justin. One big change was Overwatch, and for many armies, people just relied on Overwatch, which is a mechanic used to stop enemy armies from charging into your units. And that would really decimate a lot of assault-related armies, such as Orcs or Chaos Space Marines. Now they've changed it to where you can have Overwatch, and it's only one army unit can do it instead of your entire army, and that's a huge change in this edition. And
I think it is notable that Tau weren't affected by that.
Tau, by the way, guys, was not affected. That was the clear exception, because without that, they'd be in trouble.
Yeah, Tau are the apex of the shooting portion of the game, and it's kind of a joke that if you get into melee with them, they kind of just run away because they're really, really bad in melee.
Right. I think another big change is terrain, where people used to take huge advantages over how terrain was set up on the table. And now what they've done is they've taken the approach of building your table with different terrain pieces, and each terrain item, let's say a building or a pile of barrels or even a hill, has their own special mechanic. Like, is this light cover? Is this an inspiring thing which improves leadership, for example? Does this even have any benefit? And so that's a big thing that I think it will make games more fun for people to do and playing out the table, and just creative for whatever theme they're trying to do.
One thing I have heard a lot of people saying is they've almost taken a page out of Age of Sigmar's book and decided to give all of the terrain rules.
Yes, and it's a big step in the right direction. And another thing I noticed is this new gaming mechanic called Crusade. And for people at home who are played the Age of Sigmar or AOS, and they've played Path of Glory, it's a type of campaign mechanic where you start with a small army and you build up and you develop points and achievements and improvements as the game goes on, or the series. And 40K has their own version called Crusade, where you start with around a 500 point or 25 power level army, which is small in comparison to 2,000 point armies.
For reference, this group of Sisters of Battle right here is just shy of 500 points.
So that would be
That would be
a
crusade
starting
re-
crusade.
That would be a crusade-ready
Right.
army.
And that's your average battle size army for 25 PL too. If you just wanted to do a regular game.
Yeah. I've actually gotten a lot of people started into 40K recently because of the new edition and because it's a great time to start playing.
Absolutely.
Because everyone is kind of learning the mechanics from the ground up
Right.
again because so many things have been changed.
Right.
So, and I'm just kind of starting with my Sisters of Battle army. I've had them since the box was released for it, the special, like, first time you could buy them in plastic box.
Right.
But I haven't really done anything with them since getting that box. And this is kind of the first time that I'm really building it up.
And I'm going to add on to that, where you're starting with new players and everything. Depending on your army size, they've actually changed the sizes of the table.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, back in 8th edition, if you had a 500 point or 25 PL army and you're having an army like as big as Justin's, you have to play on a 6x6 table. Now it's, I believe, a 2x4 table.
It's actually in here. We can.
Yeah, let's
if you
take a
wanna
quick
that
look
up real quick.
as we're looking.
It should be closer to where that ribbon
Oh,
is.
perfect.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
So those are the detachments. I think it's further back.
Further back, okay.
Or no,
Oh,
Further forward.
forward.
sorry.
Forward, backward.
All right.
So this is also the core rulebook
Right.
for the game. It kind of gives you the most general information you need to play. These are two army-specific codexes, so they give you kind of the rules for this group and like all these different units. All of that is in these.
And just to go back to the table size, if you have a small list, let's call, and they call that a combat patrol, and that's around
Yep.
500 points, it's a 44 by 30 inch size table. So it's roughly about 2.5 and 3.5 feet.
A good metric that my playgroup has found, and it sounds really weird when you say it, but about half a pool table.
Yeah, it's a great idea, Justin, of a comparison. Another thing I want to add is the emphasis on power level.
Yes.
So back in Warhammer 40K 8th edition, points was the way to go. Everybody did points, 2,000, 3,000 points. What Games Workshop has done in this edition is they want to try to make it easier for new people and even veteran players and just go back to power level. So instead of saying like, well, how many points is that one guy? Well, sometimes that could be 500 points or some type of random odd number. You're not going to remember that.
Yeah.
That's
like,
why.
46.
Correct. I have some people are just like 46 points, and how am I supposed to remember that if I have 10 different units on the field? Now, GW has come out with this idea of let's just stick with power level, go back to our roots with power level, and not worry about that until you get more experience playing into it.
So kind of to break down power level versus points a little bit, this is an HQ choice for Necrons. It's an Overlord. This little ball that it has is called a Resurrection Orb. That's worth X points. I believe it's 20 now, but it's changing when the new codex comes out. His weapon is also worth a certain amount of points.
Right.
And the model itself is still more points on top of that. So in this one model, you have to you have to add up 3 different things to just find out how much one model is
Right.
worth. And to newer players, that gets really complicated really fast, especially for more complicated armies. Necrons are fairly linear in their options, but say something like Sisters of Battle, they have 6 to 8 different
weapons.
gun options that each squad can have. And that becomes a lot of math really fast.
Right, and I'll give you a comparison with Death Watch. I mean, there's so many different combinations you can do with their regular veteran squads.
If I remember correctly, the veteran squads have the single largest data sheet in the entire game of 40K.
That is correct, Justin. And I mean, if you're brand new into 40K, that is going to be way too much for you to remember,
Yeah.
especially if you're coming from Age of Sigmar, where you just have one type of weapon or 2 types of weapons. There's no point difference. If anything, just a stat difference in the unit, and that's it. So when you're jumping from that to this, it's like, whoa, this is way too much. And so now, with the emphasis of power level, you just choose the weapon you want. You don't have to worry about how many points it is, unless if you're a more experienced player and you know it's going to be a points level game.
Yeah.
So I feel those are the biggest differences,
Yeah.
in our opinion, I think.
Something that we'll see more of, and to go back to Crusade a little bit, the core rulebook has some basic rules, but as more codexes come out, so in about a week when we get the updated Necron Codex and the updated Space Marine Codex, they're each going to have their own Crusade rules in them, and they're going to have their own unique things that they can do that aren't going to be in the core rulebook. And while, yeah, that might sound a little bit like the Necrons and Space Marines are going to get kind of a head start, it's still a really cool format to play the game in. And it's, like you were saying, it's a lot more narrative based. You're looking more to play a story rather than to just
Do skirmishes.
do skirmishes. If you want to do skirmishes, that's fine. That's an awesome way to play. I love the feeling of just unloading a ton of shots and rolling. I think the most I've rolled at one time is 40 dice all at once, and seeing my opponent just kind of go, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll take this whole squad off the table now.
Right.
But it's supposed to be more of a story-driven thing. Think almost sort of D&D, but more retroactive.
It's narrative storytelling through
right.
through your war games.
And that's a big perk, I think, in this edition. They're really emphasizing out even the chapters. You can make your own homemade chapter now. For Space Marines, they give you all different little rule abilities you can do. They're doing that for your Astra Militarum, the Sisters of Battle. Really,
yeah. It looks like they're kind of building that out to all of the different factions. Is that more customizable feel? And that's always been kind of something that I've tried to drive home to everyone, is kind of, if you're starting into the game, it's really easy to look at the box art and say, oh, well, I'm going to paint it like that. I'm going to tell you right now, it's a bad idea. All of those are professionally painted and have way more time put into them than what the average person is willing to put into a single model.
That's right.
For my Necrons, they're the easiest army that I paint. They're literally just silver spray paint, and the other colors are added on afterwards. And it's really fast, it's really easy, but they're also unique. I put these gold shoulder pads on all of them because that's a unique feature that my army has, and it's what makes it my army.
I'll give an example of mine. I have two examples here. First with the Sisters of Battle right there. Now, with the one with the standard silver armor, that's usually part of the Ardent Shroud Sisterhood. But with my Sisterhood, I've made almost like a legion, and each unit has their own special colored armor to represent their specialty. So anyone wearing a silver armor is your regular troop unit of the Sisters of Battle, while the ones here with the black armor is part of the Dominion squads, who are your special, like, ops. They just pop out of nowhere and just start attacking people from the sides and everything. And at home, I all, just different colored armored sisters representing what part of the Legion I have for the Emperor. Another one is my Knight. It's part of my homebrewed Blizzard Force Legion for the Astra Militarum. They're based off the Valhallan Ice Warriors in the lore, but they all, just wear their own special white armor. They almost look like snow troopers from Star Wars.
Okay.
I should have brought more in as an example, but they all are clad in white armor and everything.
Nice.
And everything like that.
Yeah.
And I don't have any of my models here, but I have. I know. I'm sorry. My army is mostly Space Marines that.
Those guys right up there.
Like these guys right here.
The Thousand Suns.
The Thousand Suns Legion, and there is a whole separate unit of like sorcerers and spellcasters in the army, and I'm actually changing the colors from their traditional blue and gold to red and gold to kind of go back to older editions of that Legion and their older color schemes, just to kind of differentiate them and give a little bit of 30K flavor for my new 40K army.
Right, and I think that's a great conversation starter too when you're playing with a person. They may not even know anything about 30K. Like when we had talked before the show, I didn't realize they wore red armor and everything. I was like, whoa, really? So that's a really cool way of bringing that up to someone.
Yeah, and it's really easy to get started into 40K too. A lot of people have the concept that it's too expensive. I can't afford it.
Honestly, I started with Kill Team.
And that's a great way. That's how I actually sold it to all my friends that are starting into 40K now. Is you just need to buy a box of infantry, $30. That's all you need. Okay, now you're gonna these are the rules. Just kind of learn these rules.
Right.
That's gonna get you the base kind of laid out.
Yeah.
And then all of them, I think everyone except for one person is all up to 1,000 points now, and it took less than 3 months.
Or if you aren't sure and you just want to try an army out for flavor, I mean, they have those new they have star collecting boxes.
Yep,
and what's great about a star collecting box, they come with a HQ unit like your Necron Overlord,
Yep.
and then a unit of troops, and then maybe 1 or 2 specialized units or something. And
Yeah.
that's a really great way for someone who's brand new to feel like, so this is what my army should maybe look like. And that's actually close to 500 points or 25 PL alone to just start playing, which is beautiful.
If you really wanted to, I know people have done it. I don't personally recommend it too much, but if you really wanted to get to 2,000 points to play at a really high-level game, you could buy 4 start collecting boxes and maybe just buy another kit here and there and have a 2,000 point army. So the Necron start collecting box comes with some warriors, some scarabs, an overlord, one of these guys, and a few other bits and bobs here and there. But like you were saying, it's usually an HQ, some other a troops choice, and usually something else to go along with them. But you really don't need to spend a lot of money to get into the hobby is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I feel like especially with 9th edition, I've been looking around, and that seems to be the big thing is Games Workshop wants more people to get into this hobby, so they're not putting as much emphasis on points, so it's easier to get started
wanna make
with
it more
25
player
power
friendly.
level as opposed to 500 points.
Yeah.
So,
And paint how you want to paint as well. That's a
Exactly.
big thing for people to
It's your
understand.
army. Express it how you want to express it.
you're going to care way more about them if you painted them the way that you wanted them.
Yeah.
You want them to look.
If you really wanted to, you could paint your entire army neon pink, and no one can tell you you're wrong because it's your army. It's your headcanon.
Yeah. So all in all, you guys are on board with 9th edition?
Oh
I
yeah,
think it's great.
absolutely. I take this any day over 8th edition.
I think the biggest improvement is the terrain rules easily.
Overwatch.
Overwatch is a huge change. Makes it a lot more tactical and a lot less just I can do it so I will.
Right.
Right. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on down and
Thank you for
teaching
having
me a
us.
little bit about
Yeah.
9th edition and all of our lovely viewers. Comment below. Tell us if you guys play Warhammer. What armies do you play if you do? If this inspires you to get into Warhammer, awesome. We'd hope to see you down at the shop sometime to play. Until next time, guys, this is Great Stories. Take care.